that specific tension that I like to use. And this is probably where it already starts relating to perfection kills, because even though we work on quite a clean foundation here, what's really important to start off with is that the tension on the hair is just really, really relaxed, because otherwise it can really work against you. So here, we're just working a finger depth of block graduation. Just gently point cutting that. And you can see as I move the hair upwards through the section, at some parts, some hair is going to come off, at other parts is just a little bit. It's just about establishing a new foundation there for the result I'd like to have. There is no need to put a lot of high tension on it, because working on thousands of dead fiber strands is just going to work against us if we try too hard on the tension. So it's about being comfortable, being relaxed. Also, you can see the point cutting I'm using here is just going to work to our advantage of having quite a clean haircut, quite a graphic kind of haircut. But what I really want to show off is all these little imperfections that make it so delicate and make it so real. And also, I want Stephanie to look like that she belongs to an editorial, maybe like a subculture fashion magazine, rather than something that directly relates to hairdressing. And what I mean by that is that in our world, in our culture, it's easy to start overdoing things, where we put like too much color, too much cutting, and too much styling in one look, and it's almost like having too much knowledge about it and then overdoing it. So today it's about letting go and being guided by your taste to do it in the most relevant kind of way. I mean, when it comes to taste, there is no academies for it, unfortunately. You know, taste is something it's really difficult to argue about, but we all know, particularly in our fashion-related business, when it's right and when it's not. But still, it's so hard to accomplish something for ourselves sometimes. This is just a base where, in the past, we've been working with a lot of clean cut scissor over combing on Cookie's hair, but now I think I just want to have that little bit of unkept feeling. Which again resembles to something that's a little bit more raw and undone. I don't know if Letitia can follow me just over here for a little bit, but I just prepared this mood board, which really relates a lot to general the work that I do in the salon, because I want my clientele to be exposed to that as well. Because if you work with these kind of influences as an inspiration, sooner or later, your clients will relate to it. Because if you want to have a good direction when it comes to taste, it's really important to be surrounded by the right ingredients. And the right ingredients, it means the general environment. Also, of course, the images, the people, the music, whatever rocks your boat or floats your boat, it doesn't matter, but make sure that the ingredients are there that trigger you. Okay, so this mood board it's very style orientated. It's nothing about fast forward moving trends, but it's like more iconic and timeless. And this is what personally I feel good about it, because here are images that are probably 20 years old and images that was shot last month. And it's all together one board of influences in whatever shape, length, texture, proportion, that I feel good about it. And indirectly, I get triggered and inspired by it to do actually the haircuts in the academy and in the salon. Because it's really important to realize, just like all of you guys, that I also run a small cutting boutique. So I'm behind the chair, just like most of you. And I feel by doing that, the education that I like to provide globally for Kevin Murphy is actually very relevant, taken from behind the chair in the academy fashion, the global team, Kevin Murphy, music and art and street culture. And if you put all of this together, you hopefully come up with some ideas that actually fit the market. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to start subdividing, just dropping the top section. Yes?
I was wondering if you're ready for a question.
Sure.
So I had a question from Becky Lloyd, and before I answer her question, she just wants to say she loved your cutting course that she did with you in Manchester in the UK and learned how to use the curved scissors.
Oh, thank you.
But what she would like to know, what brand scissors are you using today?
Oh, today I'm going to use a combination of just straight scissors and curved scissors. At the moment we just got the regular scissors, and it's my own personal brand, which is handmade in Japan. It's actually made by the same company as the Kevin Murphy curved scissors, to be honest. But at the moment I've run out, I've sold out, and because of COVID things haven't been like as it normally is, so I haven't got any for sale at the moment, but that will change for the future.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to subdivide out the fringe area. First of all, because this is what I want to put the focus on. I mean, Cookie has a great look, very strong, and she can get about everything when it comes to suitability. So we're not restricted in any form or way. All I want to look at is that sometimes at a certain length, the hair type gets a little bit kind of wispy, a bit fluffy, a bit frizzy. So I just want to make sure that we calculate that in. When it comes to face shape, anything is possible. When it comes to general aesthetics, I mean, as I said, Cookie is a comedian. She's a little crazy in a good sense. So she likes change, and she likes something that's a little bit out of the box. So I think that's for that reason, you know, she fits the aesthetics of Perfection Pills just perfectly. You know, it's really important that when we talk about letting go of perfection, that we understand it in the right sense. I mean, I think when it relates to cutting hair, we still need an eye for having a good control over like clean sections and stuff like that, because this is the foundation of the haircut. It's like in architecture, you know, modern architecture need to be like really well balanced and proportioned. When it comes to section, how that relates to the pattern of cutting hair, I think this is not the part where we kind of let it go or get messy about it. It's more like the very specific choices that we make of texture or length combination where we can actually use the term Perfection Pills. You know, for me it came up like years ago. I had been around as a qualified hairdresser for 29 years. So for 21 years or 22 years, I've been, you know, working on a global level, traveling the world doing education and doing a lot of, you know, photo shoots. And this is where it started for me. I used to get really frustrated working really hard on the set, doing a photo shoot. And then the time when it actually was captured, the money shot was taken, then the model would kind of hang around a little bit, have some lunch, put a coat on, and by the time she was about to leave the building, this is the moment where the hair looked maybe a lot better than actually on the set. And it still took, you know, quite a few years for me to, first of all, understand that, but also to actually take the initiative to do something about it. And, you know, to make things worse, then you would have the model going home and take a bathroom selfie to post on social media, and it's exactly on that picture that everything looks so much more better and made so much more sense than actually the hair that you've done on the shoot and worked so hard for. So this is for me where it was a turning point that, you know, I need to change that. I want that hair to look like she's done the selfie in the bathroom herself. And to be able to do that as a hairdresser, you know, it needs experience. It's not an easy thing to let go. It's one of these things that, you know, it requires understanding for a good makeup artist, for example, to do makeup that almost doesn't look like makeup. For a great graphic designer to actually work a design where all the necessities are taken away from distraction. And it's the same with hair. It's one of these things that, to simplify things, to take the loudness out and just be relevant with minimal of detail, it just takes experience. And I feel that I have reached the point personally in my career where I feel ready to actually really put the focus on that and expose it to the world, because as an educator I feel like the environment that you would spend together with me should be no secrets. You know, I like to share everything. I need to share everything because I need to make space in my head to absorb other things as well. So if I keep things to myself, I'll die with it and it has no purpose. So then I would better stay on the salon floor and don't educate at all. Also, if I don't give it out, if I don't share it, I don't make any space for new ideas in my head. So for that reason, sharing is very important. What's really important here, we want to kind of keep that kind of slightly bowy shape, which fits cookie so well, but I'm working with more like a squareness, and that's going to put a little bit of edge to the haircut. This is the technical part where I'm just kind of working with pivoting sections all over the head shape and keep a technical discipline in establishing the shape. In this case, the imperfection would be the way we cut. You can see I'm working with a very deep parallel point cutting, and this is where the imperfection is going to be implemented at this part of the shape. See, when I comb the hair down, it's disconnected, but it creates a nice visual blend with the block graduation that was established through the underneath. This is just putting a basic shape into the haircut, which is then going to be distorted once the hair is dry by using our vision. Good, but I also want the haircut to have a long expiry date, you know. It sounds funny, but sometimes I hear people say, oh, if it lasts too long, the clients wait too long to come back. But the clients will appreciate that. You just have to make sure you have enough clients, that you have like regular visits. So I think the client really appreciates hair that's really effortless to style by themselves, and a haircut that lasts at least 2 months. This is what I get complimented on a lot personally in the salon, so I know people really appreciate that. Okay, now starting again at the back, working with the same guideline. To just establish the continuity of this basic shape first of all. Making sure I can see the guideline from start to finish. It's a broken guideline, it's slightly distorted, but still the balance in this case is important. See, when I comb the hair down, it kind of nicely hugs the head just over the bone, and that's really flattering to look at. Okay, these are things you have to think about. Aesthetics are what we do on a daily basis, but sometimes, because we work so organically with the hair, we need to really focus on that vision and that feeling. Because if we just go really technical and really graphic, sometimes it destroys the integrity of something very beautiful. It took me years, almost decades, to understand that. And the reason why I like to make it a really important part of education is because I want to pass it on to the younger generation of hairdressers, because I don't want you guys to spend years figuring it out. You know, it's sometimes we're wasting too much time on things that we can get exposed to and inspired to by other people if we find the right education. And I keep myself educated all the time. I'm not saying that I'm specifically go to other academies to get inspired. I would take my inspiration more from music, magazines and stuff like that, and street culture, because then I'm gonna avoid myself from starting to copy other brands. I'm very lucky in normal times to travel a lot, and when I travel, I take time to dig into the local street culture. I go to the rough parts of the city when I see the bad hair, and then the bad hair is, for me, the strongest form of inspiration to kind of somehow turn it around into good hair, if you like. There's this big thing about hair and how it relates to gender, but I realized that I never talked in that kind of way. You know, even 10, 15 years ago, when I look at the haircuts I was doing back in the day, they have no gender relation at all. They never really had. But I just didn't think about it. It just became a thing now. But back in the day, it just, there was no statement such as that. So we're just more conscious about what we do and how we do it and why we do it. I like also, you know, you see the quote on the wall here. I like things to be a little bit off track. I like something that actually looks a little awkward and be, you know, put in the right spotlight. This is something I've always treasured all my career, because before my career I was always into like new wave scene and punk and everything with glamour and stuff like that. I was always really into offbeat things of the record and things that are a little bit considered to be weird. So yeah, I'll take that with me, you know. I grew up in the 80s, so the 80s will for me always be a strong inspiration in my work. And I think it's more interesting when it's a little bit away from the classic aesthetics mainly. divided the fringe, just square. Without any tension now. I'm just gonna again put like a foundation in with a basic length, and then when the hair is dry, we'll see what we can add to it to make it a little bit more kind of quirky looking. I'm a big fan of like simplifying things. I like minimalism. I think minimalism with a little distortion, it's something that I thrive off, you know. It's when you simplify it, it's just, I think it looks more expensive, it looks more timeless, and it's also, when things are complicated, it's really hard to use them in the salon. I still take my time and I charge my price for it, but it's one of these things that I don't want to overcomplicate and do something that's really complicated in an average kind of way. I'd rather do something really simple and do it very accurate. And then it's about, I think when it comes to perfection kills and how it relates to that, it's about the details. It's about letting go of these details that actually make or break the haircut. I mean, we all have the clients in our chair that actually measuring the hair. I'm not saying the bob doesn't have to be balanced, but you know, if you do this nice little elfin kind of gamine pixie and they start measuring every hair that's on their head, because this is the kind of clientele, if you're in a certain environment that you get, and it's really hard to explain to this client, like, I can cut it really, really perfect, but it's actually going to take away the prettiness of your haircut. And it's all about navigating and educating your clients, because I think we still sometimes, by wanting to live up to the expectations, sometimes we give in too much. I've come to a point in my career where I don't compromise so much anymore. I'm like, look, you know, you came to my place because you obviously were attracted to a certain aesthetic, a certain look and feel. Can you trust me on this one, that this is what you need and looks good on you? So sometimes it's quite confronting and you have to be kind of, I can't find the right word, but in a very diplomatic way. I think it's really important that you bring that to your clients, because I think they deserve it, they expect it from you. And you do get the clients that you deserve at the end of the ride anyway. So if you're happy with your clientele, it means you're doing really good. If you feel like you're a little bit in a routine and you're a little bit bored, it's actually your fault, you know. You have to do something about it. Yes. Well, as a new stylist, I think your first aim is to control your classics, your foundation, your basic education, because in all honesty, no matter where you are in the world, I don't care if it's London or how cool your salon is, 70% of the work that you produce on the salon floor will be based on classics. Okay, so once you master your classics and you master it to an extent that it gives you the confidence to deal with even the most difficult clients in your salon, soon after that, you will put your own personality into your work without even realizing it first. You know, you're going to put your own personality in work, but if you're a younger stylist, then the whole perfection kills attitudes that we put into place visually, feeling based and taste orientated. It's not so much part of your work just yet at this point. That's why very often as a junior stylist your price level is a bit lower, not because you're not worth cutting a good bob, but maybe you're not so versatile to start recommending things to your clients. So I think it's really important to learn the tricks of the trades and walk the talk and whatever you want to call it, and then gradually when you feel comfortable and you gain confidence, then you can start kind of loosening up. It's actually, I mean, I was talking to Nathan one day. He said, first you learn to play by the rules, then you think out of the box, and then you do all these combinations of everything you learned. At the end of the ride, you throw everything out of the window and you just do your own thing. But you have the right experience to do it then, and you do it well. If that makes sense.
That's great advice. It's a bit like driving, isn't it? We all like follow the rules. As soon as we pass, we just do what we want.
Oh, can you imagine the first time you're driving your car on the road? I mean, when I drive my car now, I steal with my knees and I put like a salsa on my taco and have a beer on the side. No, the beer was not true because that's not appropriate anymore these days.
Yeah, that was many years ago.
Don't take my bad jokes too seriously, please. Okay, so this is just the basic shape being established. You can see already that's kind of, you know, looking very delicate and pretty, but I just want to dry the hair now and then continue the journey working feeling based and visual based on dry hair. Just to let you know that before we did the sectioning pattern, I used like easily 4 pumps of leave-in repair, so it has an overload of leave-in repair, and that's going to give me that really condensed, almost like slightly sweaty feeling of the hair that was very lived in and not freshly washed, which I really like. I like hair that kind of looks really raw and lived in and not too dry and not too fluffy. I like hair that's got a bit of crunch to it without having too much an overload of styling products. I personally like a lot of conditioners in the hair. I do an overload on conditioners. It makes the hair very touchable and very movable and very organic. It's like when you have makeup, you know, when you just have a nice little shimmer on the complexion of your teeth. I like the same with hair. I just wrap drying it around the head shape, so I just want it to look a little bit more smooth, but without really blow drying the hair too much. And this is ideal if you want to have certain smoothness in the hair, but still want it to look very natural. Sorry about that. See, we have a little bit of a cleaner base now, but still, like, you know, it still kind of, you know, moves quite natural. So now is the part where we're going to start working visual. Just being directed by our feeling, our vision, and our taste. I think fringes like that, for me, I got really inspired, like in the mid-90s, where Eugene Solomon used to work with black feathers and cut the bits out of the black feathers and make it into fringes. Things like that always stay with me, and sooner or later it becomes part of what you do. I know with Stephanie I have to find a good balance between density, strength, and then break it up. Because if I make it too wispy, it's going to be hard to handle for her. I always go a bit quiet when I cut fringes, because I'm going into this hyper-focus zone. Oh, thanks, Baz. Thank you so much. Don't forget, I'm not qualified to do anything else. See, you have to kind of take your time to do this, right? Because you have to keep looking at the hair. moving it around. You can also tell that I'm not actually lifting up the hair because that would soften it up too much. I see something like a little wispy bit there, and by taking that away, I'm going to create a little gap, and this is where perfection feels starting to happen in this haircut. This was not planned. It's about sometimes things that weren't supposed to be there, but they look really good. Story of my life, actually. Sure.
Are you cutting right up to the hairline?
Yes. Sorry for the short answer, but that's exactly what I'm doing. Because you have to be careful. If you start cutting into the hairline, then you would be adding a certain texture that you might not want to have. And the next question is, how do you know where the hairline is? Because I've been cutting Cookie's hair for many times. I'm going to say something which I was not going to say, and I might regret saying it, and I hope I get away with it. But when it comes to the look and the feel of hair and complexion, I think a person's hair, the way it kind of messy and sticks to the face and the complexion and the glow and everything, looks at its very, very best just after that person made love. And this is actually, when you see an editorial magazine, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that kind of, that proportion, that imperfection, that stickiness, like the way it kind of sits on the skin and stuff like that, with this as an inspiration. And I hope I said it in the most correct way, that I don't offend anyone.
You said that perfectly.
Thanks, Bess. I know you got my back when it comes to it.
So I have another question from Sid. So Sid is asking, how does this haircut fit in with the Kevin Murphy philosophy?
Well, the haircut fits in with the Kevin Murphy philosophy because it has an editorial appeal. It's probably not the haircut that you would see in the global annual campaigns, in all honesty, for various reasons. But I think it fits in the Kevin Murphy philosophy, as we have been doing the European campaigns like Walk in Paris, Walk in Antwerp. It would fit in perfectly in there. If you would have to have maybe a little bit more of an on-brand little detail to it, you could kind of bend it here and there with maybe curling tones or so, and then you could add that extra element of Kevin Murphy. But I think because it's so fashion related, it really fits in with the brand, even though it's not a look that you will see in the campaign being done.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think we did things like that for shows when we use wigs, because in the real fashion world these things are done, but probably in wigs because when we work on professional models, they have an identity that they need to be able to change all the time for the different brands. So it's really hard to being stuck with one little haircut that defines your identity. So that's probably the reason. See, continuously looking for this really imperfection. I went very broken, but I don't want it wispy because I know Cookie's hair doesn't respond to that very well. It might do today, but it won't do tomorrow. So see, it's really important that it's not really nice and equal, that we actually work very quirky with the proportion of it. And this is where perfection kills starts to make complete sense.
Pascal,
Yeah?
would you just remind us what cutting motion did you cut with today? Was it stay alive or leave?
Yes, I used 4 pumps of leave-in repair, which is for this short hair like an overload. And then I topped it up with staying alive. I think it's starting to come together really well at this point. Now the tricky part is to know when to stop. And that's experience that will help you with that. I think if you're inexperienced, you probably stop too early rather than too late because you're a little bit scared. It's only when you get to a certain experience that it gets dangerous. When you start crossing the line. I crossed the line with Cookie many times, so I'm not going to do that today. Okay, so now I'm going to start going internally. Breaking up the shape a little bit. If you do this on dry hair, you have a whole different control over the hair, so you can just kind of mold it as you go through. continuously within the imperfection, I'm looking to maintain a certain squareness in the shape, and that has been quite a key feature in most of the haircuts I actually have produced in the past. Initially, when I was first cutting hair, I wasn't really aware of that. It's probably Kevin Murphy who made me aware of that, and the team, that yeah, it's actually one of the key features, working on some kind of rounded surface, and the squareness in whatever length seems to work really, really well. This is how I would work a haircut in a salon situation as well, if it's, you know, the right customer. You do your consultation, you navigate the client in, you know, inspiring your client making the right choices. And then, you know, you kind of meet one another in the middle and see if you can, you know, come to a compromise. But it's all about letting go, and it's you know, it's hard to let go for hairdresser. It's hard to simplify and to focus on the minimal part of it. You know, it took me such a long time to actually, first of all, understand that, but then also actually do it. I had a lot of understanding first, years of it, before I was actually still doing it. Well, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think I have reached the point where it's time to stop.
Everyone's loving the haircut, Pascal. It just looks amazing. It looks phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. You know, I love what I do, and I do what I love, and there is no more secret to that, you know. It's just one of these things that I'm not very versatile. I don't braid hair, I don't color hair, I just cut hair. I've been doing that 29 years, and I'm very grateful because of Kevin Murphy and the team that I've been able to do it the way I love doing it, and globally, and sharing it with the team. So these things make me just very grateful and very happy. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna review